You're listening to That Music Podcast with Bryson Tarvin, the curriculum designer and educational consultant behind That Music Teacher and the Elementary Music Summit. Each week, Bryson and his guests will dive into the reality of being an elementary music teacher and how music can truly be transformative in the lives of the students you serve. Show notes and resources mentioned in this episode can be found at thatmusicteacher.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to That Music Podcast. I am super excited to have a new guest to the podcast, and we are going to dive in all about how you can use movement and just getting up and moving to survive and also keep the music going towards the end of the year. So we are super excited to have BethAnn Hepburn here on the podcast. BethAnn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Alrighty, before we get too far into the weeds, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and your background in music education, and what you're up to in the elementary music realm?
Sure. So currently I teach grades 4 through 7 general music in the Streetsboro City Schools, which is a suburb between Akron and Cleveland in Ohio. I also teach the beginning choir for our school district, and I assist with the band a couple days a week. Basically, my journey was pretty much from my childhood. I sang a lot and in a church choir, and the church choir director said, "Hey, you should get lessons at some point." But the fun thing was she sent me down to a different church because the person that was the director there, she said, was a pretty good voice teacher. And I was like, oh, turns out it was Patricia Sheehan Campbell. I know, how crazy is that? So she was my voice teacher when I was a kid. But I ended up going to Cleveland State for my undergraduate degree, and then went to the University of St. Thomas and did a concentration on Orff work. But the nice thing about the program there, if you were an Orff emphasis person, everyone took Eurythmics, and which was great. And also you had to take the opposite of what your track was. So if you're an Orff person, you take Kodai, and if you're a Kodai person, you take Orff levels. So it was a really good practitioner plus research met when I was there. And I was really a lucky person, because when I student taught, my person required me to take level 1 and that's what kind of started my Orff journey really early on. I was just getting out of my senior year before fall student teaching, so I don't really know how to teach any other way. It's great. But I'm now rounding off my 27th year teaching. I was in Streetsboro City Schools for most of it, but also taught in Cleveland Public Schools and in Catholic schools. And my very first teaching was in Swaziland. I taught math and science.
Fun.
Yeah. So
I have to say, I'm kind of like loving that the whole master, or like the requirement at University of St. Thomas. Like that's brilliant.
Yes. And it's awesome, because I don't know, not to sell that program, but programs in general. Like right now I'm in a PhD program. So I think I'm in the how and the why stage. The why. I'm finding out the why. But when I was younger in my career, I thought it was really important to know more of the how. Like that, once you get your feet going, it's like you're realizing, okay, pedagogically, I could use a few more tricks and more things. And I think the more we learn out of any pedagogy, like I took MLT at Temple with the itty bitties, the pre-audiators. So we had, learning how to improvise with a 2-year-old is pretty cool. But also world music drumming. I think anything we can get under our belt is awesome. The more tricks we can pull from, and you really start to realize most of the approaches, particularly the active music learning approaches, are more alike than different.
Yes, that is one thing that I will scream from the mountains is, everyone always says, specifically, it's typically Orff versus Kodai. And I'm like, they're really not or. They're really just different ways of approaching the same thing, which yes. That's a whole other podcast that we could totally keep this conversation going. But speaking of practical things, let's be honest, May for teachers can be a little rough with testing, assessments, everyone just kind of feeling a little done with everything. How do you see movement playing a role in keeping both the students, but also the teachers engaged in this time of year?
I think we have to match the level of energy that's in the building. And there's a bit of a chaotic feel in May, just because there's a lot going on. And I think if we add movement, whether it's singing games and they're outside or testing week, I always do movement only. I don't try to insert anything new into their little brains because they are fried. And it tends to be for a lot of teachers, you're not allowed to do your program till after testing is over. And so then it's the mad dash crunch for people to get to that. And then some teachers are in the situation, like when I was on a cart, people on a cart, I feel you. I did it for 5 years. I get it. My favorite ever being, can you do that quietly? We have to test. I'm like, no, it's music, not silence. Like, I can't do it quietly. But still coming up with things. And that's when you do the outside, go outside. I'm a big fan of, if the weather's nice out, go outside. And I've done everything from the maypole to singing games out in the grass, contra dances in the grass. No, you don't have to worry about it if anybody falls down. They just, bop back up, which is kind of nice. So I'm a giant fan of take them outside if you can. Also because they've been trapped in a desk all day. And I think the students need to get up and move, which is like after they've had to be quiet for so long, after a testing day in particular. And they're kind of shot after testing and they're ready to cut loose. So I think it's important that we match that energy level and bring in more movement for them to keep them focused and engaged, but also for our own sanity too.
Yeah. I mean, you're bringing up a really good point, which is essentially just like meeting them where they're at. Because let's be honest, when we go to a PD session and we're feeling drained and they want us to start off by doing this whole big active icebreaker, like, we're not matching that energy. And it's not fun. Nobody enjoys it. It's like pulling teeth. So why are we going to work against it? So I also love how you talked about going outside. Obviously that's not the case, not an option for everybody. We were, at my previous school, we had this huge outdoor space that we were able to use for a lot of things. And I'll be honest, I took a year or two off because of having to teach outside forever during COVID. I'm like, I need a little bit. But you bring up a really good point, which is doing those things outside. Quite frankly, like for some of those, that's just more authentic of how they would have existed in the first place. And I think that's a really good way of showing that music quite literally not just something that happens in the music classroom. It really can be this communal, active music making thing.
Yes. And by that point of the school year too, they have so many more playing skills. So even if it's a song that just has a simple 1-4-5 accompaniment and they know 1-4-5 on the ukulele in any key, you can transpose any song and they can become the band outside too. So the kids who still do miss playing the instruments and want to, not just move, but want to be players still, you can incorporate that in. You can incorporate drumming, especially with a lot of the ring games that are from the islands. I absolutely love that in the springtime and it's like I always find that extra little, bring that out now. And then bring this out, something totally new that kind of captures them. So I have like jumpy jams, for example. I do the singing game, I Let Her Go, but then I add a question and answer improvisation with the jumpy jams. So some of us are doing the actual ring game, question and answer on the drums plus on the jumpy jams, and we get a little island more flavor going on. And it's nice because then you can swap out who are the movers, who are the players. So I think that kind of keeping new things too. So it's like a surprise. And sometimes it's fun to just have one of those days where they want to do as many of the singing games or folk dances that they know as like a power run recap of everything. But bringing out a new one or something brand new right at the end of the school year, I think is another way to keep them hooked.
That is a really good tidbit. If we get nothing else out of this episode, I want people to leave realizing that, like, keep a couple of things in your back pocket, especially for those grades that tend to get a little squirrely anyway. Like I always kept some really good games that typically, honestly, I probably could have done in like 5th or 6th grade. But my 4th graders, by the end of the year, that was the oldest at that building. They just needed something that was challenging and that was new. And that was, quite frankly, a competition. So I had some games that I would always keep in my back pocket because I knew that come May, we were going to need them. And that is a really, really important thing to keep, maybe if you go to a conference and you find something new, write it down, keep it, don't forget about it. Don't put it in that folder of shame you never look at, again, but like bring it back at the end of the year rather than doing everything, all the new things that you've learned at conference right when you get back. That could be a
right. Or even just putting a new twist on, like they already know the ring game, my let her go, but then throwing in the steel drum, it changes it. So ways you can bump it up a notch, whether with they're playing an instrument along with the game and you're swapping out the players, that kind of thing too. So I think sometimes bringing back one they are familiar with some kind of twist on it is awesome.
For sure. And that also just makes it a lot simpler for the teachers too, right? You're able to keep it simple. So you touched on some of the different common challenges in May. Maybe you're not allowed to make any noise. How do we do that? I don't know. You might talk about how, for scheduling things, you might have people out for a field trip. You might be like really trying to get all, this mad dash to get all these performances towards the end of the year. What are some of the common challenges maybe we haven't addressed, or maybe one that you want to zoom in a little bit further on of, some different common challenges teachers might face towards the end of the year, and how would you approach these?
I think a couple things, but one is flexibility and letting go of what you thought it should be at the end, because there is no normal end of the school year. And I think sometimes too, we wait too long. If you're in a school district that you have to do post assessments for your pre-assessments, don't wait till May to do them, because of the field trips and everybody's missing, or we're on spring break longer than everyone else, because that's when, parents can get their vacation at work. And so I think we just have to move some things forward. So if you're in a district that collects the pre and post assessment data, make sure you get that done early, so you're not trying to do that on top of everything else. And then I think give yourself more time and grace to get stuff done. Definitely grading, don't do the 24-hour logathon, but keep them going as you go, a little bit a little bit every couple days makes your life a lot easier at the end to wrap up your school year. So I think that's another one. The other thing I wish someone would have told me early on is stop bringing everything home. Because the reality is, we all have these grand illusions that the 5 boxes of books that we brought home, we're going to go through every single book and find new things and prepare new lessons. And the reality is those books come home, they sit in a corner, and then we move them around the garage a little bit, and then they go back in our car in August when we go back to school. So I think truly give yourself a break from even thinking about work. So when you're packing your room, don't pack everything and bring it home. Give yourself a little time. So that's one thing. The other thing I think, and I always have to, I'm a mentor for a few teachers. And one of the things I always have to remind them is that our colleagues are under way more stress than we can ever imagine, that are the tested subject areas. And the stress level in the building is unbelievable. And not to take it personally, like when people drop off their class and they look fried and they give you the good luck, that's because they're already here, and I think another thing is don't lay it on them. If there was a problem with a student or so-and-so was acting up that day, guess what? So-and-so was acting up for them all day long. I don't think we need to dump that on them also, because it just causes more friction between you and your colleagues. So I just think one of those, I got them, go get stuff done for your prep, and kind of being positive about it, because they are fried on a level and stress that we can't even imagine. And it's a different kind of stress than we have for spring concert stress, because our stress is also a stress, but it's a different kind. So I think just keeping that in your back pocket, and not to take anything personally when people are worried about testing, and if they need more kids, or kids are getting pulled out because of testing while you're still trying to prep your last things for your program or whatever. I think we just have to embrace okay, roll with it. And just give yourself some grace, give your colleagues some grace, because it's hard. Teaching at the end of the school year is hard. Actually, teaching any day is hard. It's harder to teach. And teachers are more tired than normal at the end of the day. So I think that be okay with that and know it's normal, and that you're not the only one. I wish someone would have said, you're not the only one feeling this way. The stress of concerts and the reality of you're on all day as a music teacher. You're on.
You bring up such a good point about just the overall tension in the building between the colleagues. There's always stuff that happens. That's always when the drama starts kicking up, because everyone's on edge, like you said. And I think it can be so easy to try to make it this me versus them, or them versus us thing, when the reality is we are all working really hard in a system that sometimes doesn't work with us and works against us, and we are all just trying to get by. So I love the way that you put that. It was very poignant, and I think I'm so glad that you were telling that to your mentees, because that is really good information to just water off a duck's back a little bit. It's going to be okay. We're going to make the best with what we have.
Yeah. And it's not at us. I think that's the thing. We happen to be the person there that gets to be the sounding board, maybe, or when they're so stressed and they're dropping the kids off. I know that happens a lot, but just to take in that, okay, they're stressed out, and don't take it personally. I think that's a hard one, because sometimes it may come off at us, but that's, I don't think, ever the intention from our colleagues. They're just stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without giving too much away from your upcoming masterclass, can you share how you might use movement for something in your lesson that will get the kids moving, because like we've established, they need to move, but also just keeps things musical and keeps the curriculum moving as well? Can you talk a little bit about how we can kind of do both with one thing?
Yes. So I think actually, when I think about how I use movement in my classroom, I think I use it 3 different ways. One, as a kinesthetic preparation for a literacy that might be coming later if we're going to be doing some notation work, let's say. But for me, like, a lot of the quick reaction games are good for those if you're doing a Dalcroze movement thing. So for me, those are imperative when I know I need it in their being, and I need them to feel it before we're reading it and before we're performing it. Like, I would never teach syncopation without doing some eurythmics warm-ups first, because you're off the beat if you know where the beat is. So I think, and get them up and moving around is really important, or us being the model. The other thing, I really think movement helps, even as simple as like a musical clap. So at my classroom, I use the M from music, and we use that as our music room clap. So we use 3 fingers. So we just kind of truncate music and put it right here. I think that helps your visual learners too, because they're seeing it kinesthetically, but they're seeing the duration, because there's a big difference between, this is my quarter note and these are eighth, the half, and then closer, or the really long one. So I think even just visually, it helps them connect to the abstract sound. So preparation for things later to come, either playing or reading, is one thing. But the Orff Showwork person in me really loves that the movement can inspire music. And we are going to do one of those for the masterclass, where you start with something that's familiar to students. And it could be outdoor games. It could be something you do in the park, or something you do at the amusement park. And you start to get to the point where you meter it. So it could be something as simple as you're outside playing basketball, you pass to someone, you catch it, you dribble, you shoot. But that could become an 8-beat phrase, and then every action will turn out to have sound with it. So it's almost like they become the composer for a cartoon, but the mover becomes the actual inspiration for the ostinato to happen. And then you can layer those, and then layer them on with other playground rhymes and things. It's a lot of fun to do. So I think starting with movement first, for that to work, a lot of times I use poetry, or poetry that'll get students in motion, or redacted poems, where you take a poem and you pull out and have just the movement words. And then you layer the poem in second, after they've already created a soundscape for it, or a movement in some way. I also super duper love play parties and singing games. Probably one of the main reasons is because of form. I think when they know they've changed formations, and like, oh, that was for the verse, now we're in the refrain, and now I'm doing this other thing. Extensions with play parties, I do a lot of extensions where we add improvisation or more instruments to the mix, especially because back in the day, a lot of play parties were more improvisatory, and it was play-like. That's why they're play parties. And so it's okay to let go of, you have to do them exactly the way the book says too, especially if you're calling dances. I'm a big fan of folk dances that, like, you can call based on movements your students know. And sometimes it's that class. We all have that class. Well, know what I mean? So they're not going to be ringing the dish rag. They're going to be holding hands and just going in a circle. Woo! It's a good day in the music room for that crew. And so, there's just some of it is, I think, really good for form more than anything. The play parties and the folk dances help set up form. That way, when we are doing something that's AB later or ABA, they've already done dances that are in that form, so they understand how to do that. I also think it helps their listening skills. Because when you get to the point where you don't have to call the dance, they're just listening. They know when the phrase change happens and they can hear signals in the music. That's the best.
And what I love most about, I'm also a bit huge play party folk dance. That's my jam, because for all of the reasons that you mentioned, but I also love it because it is such a natural way to talk about how music is all of these things, but also connected to all of these things. Talking about the form of it, the dancing, the communal aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it, like. Those are the standards that I always struggled with the most, all those responding standards, because, a lot of times, we'll do a performance and then we'll have a reflection. That's the responding standards, right? But these types of dances, like you were mentioning, are also a really great one to connect and bring things in. And I cannot share enough how the more I've done folk dances and things like that, the more my students have been able to just understand and internalize how the music is structured. And that alone has been huge, and like a reason why I will always say that type of movement is something that should be included.
Yes. And starting scattered space, like if your students haven't done structured folk dances yet, some of the scattered space ones are like Sasha are so much fun because you can partner switch and it doesn't matter where you are. And it doesn't matter what shape of room you have. When I was in a trailer, that worked. And when I was in a room that I actually could have a round circle, that would work. And poly spots are your best friend, and colored tape. The custodian doesn't love colored tape on the floor. But if it's the painter's tape, it's good. But taping off long waist sets or getting the little dots on the floor, you're good to go with those two. Those are a game changer.
Yeah, I found, we didn't get into a lot of like really complicated ones, but like I always had the sit spot circles in the shape of a circle in my room, but I also had Velcro lines showing the long way set. And I felt like between the two of those, we could more or less figure out wherever we needed to go. And I love how you also mentioned how some of them can be very simple. Like Sasha, love Sasha. Also, Sasha is just like a crowd pleaser. You could do it with first grade, they'll love it. You could do it with sixth grade, they'll love it. Which is another cool thing that I think doing these types of more structured movement towards the end of the year can also be something like you could have like a session at field day where you do folk dances because you've been working on them forever and all the grades know certain ones. And it's just another great way to show that music is more than just what happens in the classroom.
Well, and another thing you said when we were talking about community, there's two things that we do that I super love. The dulcimers, the students went down and the fifth graders learned the songs, and then we went down to the kindergarten rooms, and the kindergartners, luckily my K1 colleague at the time had taught all the dance. We had talked about what songs we were learning, and so he prepped some of the long way sets and all that kind of stuff. But we went down and we did Alabama Gal with them, and This Old Man, and they did all the like the kids were playing the dulcimer, and another one in the group would be in charge of leading the motions while the little ones sang. But then the fifth graders got to go back to see their kindergarten teachers, what they so love to see former teachers. That's like a big deal. Yeah. And then this year, actually coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to the senior center, where the senior citizens have their like activity spot in town. But we're inviting preschoolers also. So the moms that have pre-Ks, and we do a little program called Tunes for All Ages, and we theme it. So this upcoming one, we're going to do some holiday things for December, but we've done everything from moving with the masters, where it's just all movement activities, to classical music. And we've done the swing dance, which that was probably one of my favorites, because here I am telling the kids, be very careful. I don't want anybody like knocking your senior citizen on the floor, be really good. I'm giving the whole how to introduce yourself. We do all that stuff. And the kids were hilarious. When we got back to school, they're like, Miss Hepburn, you said to be careful. And my senior was like super swinging me around. I almost fell. And they're like, I was like, well, it's, they know these songs and they know how to dance like this. It was the music when they were kids. And it was so much fun. So we've done a little bit of everything, and we've had them play xylophones with us, where no one can play a wrong note when you take off certain bars. So it's been a lot of fun to make music with other people too. So that's another just an idea, because I think students at the end of the year need another carrot a little bit. So it's like, I have to pick a class to go see the kindergartners. Let's see if you guys can be the group. And they work harder. And I don't know. There's just something about, and I always take everybody. They all get to go. Everyone goes. We just go at different times. But it's nice, and to have that community, even for the school community, and then our outreaching community that we live in, is pretty special, I think.
Yeah, that is very special. And what I love about that is not only are you just sharing music, which I think needs to be done so much more in general life, but you're also really creating an opportunity for, I'm sorry, I completely lost where I was going with that.
Well, like making music together in community. Well, one of the most beautiful things I saw from a child at one of the days, one of the little guys came back and he said, did you bring egg shakers by chance? And I said, I did. He said, my senior citizen can't hold the maraca. It was too heavy for her. It kept falling out of her hand. He's like, did you bring egg shakers? He said, I think she could hold an egg shaker. Yeah, here. And then another time, I have Mondo picks, which usually I have for students that have lost part of their digits. And so they're just giant picks that still work on anything. And they were partner playing the dulcimers one year, and all the senior had to do was strum while the kids did the numbers. they were playing the chords while they were, and same thing happened. One of the kids came up and said, Miss Hepburn, my person can't hold the tiny pick. Did you bring any of the big ones? And so they're very empathetic, and they're responding to other people, and they've had some hilarious conversations with, especially during movement. One of the gentlemen, he's really tall too. He's like 6'2". We were doing a movement thing to Claire de Lune, and they were moving. And he leans down, and he's so tall. So the kids are like way down here, and he's way up here. And he's like, "This is really weird, but I like it." And the boys were like, "Yeah, she has us do this kind of stuff. We do stuff like this all the time. We like it too, but it is a little weird." Like, but they're all moving. They were still moving and everything, but it was just so many that the conversations they were having were a blast. So just some really special moments happen for the students too, and those little
just giving them those big kind of bookend memories of their schooling, like especially all right, we're at the end of the year, this is when we have all these cool events, and this is when we get to do the XYZ. Like, that's just really cool, I have to say. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I was like, here's another community one. And just in case anybody needs how do we get into our community idea? I think that's a good one.
For sure. So like we said, your masterclass is going to be doing a real deep dive into some practical things. Can you talk a little bit about what teachers can expect to take away from this session, especially when it comes to things that are practical or low prep?
So I think I have a really fun way to prep for canon through movement. And I'm going to show you a couple different ones for those, but my favorite is the car wash for sure. We're going to do a little working at the car wash, but have that through movement so they understand the concept. And it could be maybe late second grade and you haven't gotten to canon yet, or you did it rhythmically, but so that they understand the concept of, here's how many beats we're apart, and then this thing goes, and then I'm following, but I'm this many beats behind. So I have a fun thing for canon, and then some ways you can take that even into the choral setting if you want, and keep your choir moving. So it's not just general music class. I think your beginning choirs and choirs in general also need to move. So I think that's a good one. So a little bit of partner play, and some, we'll definitely do some Dalcroze Eurythmics quick reaction exercises, and prepping what that looks like and where you can go with it. Or just using it as a warm up because you need them to get, they came off a recess and they're all blah, 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 and you want to get them focused, just getting them up and moving, and then reversing it so that they become the musician and you're actually leading the music, but with your body. So like flipping it, instead of you playing the instruments, having them play the instruments while you're the mover, and your feet are one pattern, your hands are a different pattern, but where you're traveling is a different pitch maybe. So those kind of things are a lot of fun. And then definitely some of my favorite games that I love to do at the end of the school year. I'm going to share some of those, some singing games that are good for K1, 2, and then the upper elementary kids, because that's my zone right now. I taught K1, 2 for 7 years. I had 11 kindergartens on Monday. Woo! It was back in the day of half-day kindergarten, but I had 11 kindergartens on Mondays. And I was blissfully exhausted every Monday.
I'm sure.
It was great. But now I'm 4, 5, 6, 7. And so it's a totally different, energy group, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
And so sharing some things for the upper elementary too, that's not too cool for school, because they can get that way. But,
honestly.
Yeah. Especially at the end of the school year. So I think keeping them busy that way too is a lot of fun. But even some great quick reaction exercises for laying out harmonic parts, so that if you're going to take things to a 1-4-5 harmony on a ukulele maybe, or on Orff instruments, that there's an easy way that you can teach that through movement, so that they're hearing the connection when to shift the chords, and starting to internalize the phrasing without you having to count.
Love that.
Yeah. Which will be good.
That was a lot. I'm really excited for this session. I'm like, wait a minute. Ooh, I get to go to this? Ooh.
I know, right? It was your idea.
I'm like, ooh. So before we get to, I have one final question I want to ask you, but before we get there, can you share where anyone who's listening that's like, hey, this BethAnn person, she's pretty cool. Like where would you like to, where can people connect with you or continue this conversation?
So I could give you my email for sure. So it's just orffhepburn@gmail.com. So you can email me anytime. I do teach Orff Shulwork courses in the summer. I'm actually the level 1 instructor for the Nazareth program that was housed at Eastman and then moved over to Nazareth University in Rochester. I also teach Aloha level 1 in Hawaii. And that is, it cycles every couple of years. So we're going to be back there in 2026. And then I teach master classes throughout different spots around the United States. This year I'll be at Kent State. But last year I was in Kansas and in Atlanta. So that kind of floats around. It depends. I'll also be at OMEA and a few of the state conferences this year, Alabama. But the next one too, that's the Northwest Division for NAFB. I'll be there as well. So.
All right. Well,
lots of conferences.
Yeah, I know. I love the conference. I love the conference thing anyway. So I'm super excited to be able to catch your stuff at OMEA. But anyway, to sum it all up, how can you give one key piece of advice, or what do you want people to leave this episode with as they prepare to wrap up their school year?
I think the biggest thing is expect the unexpected and roll with it. Because the end of the school year, a lot of times they're like, oh, surprise. We forgot the last 3 drills we were supposed to do the last week. So we're going to do them all tomorrow. Like that kind of stuff does happen. Or we didn't tell you we're going on a field trip because they forgot to put it in the school calendar. Just be okay with things pop up, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And there's nobody really expecting a certain thing in May. Everyone just wants the students to still stay engaged and have fun. And I think let go and have fun with the students. Like they know things now. You've taught them all year. It's the time where you can actually have fun with them. And I think just enjoy the last of the ride, because it's this speeding train that just goes and there's no brakes. It goes and then you're like, oh, and we're done. So I think because of that pacing too, just kind of step back now and then and really watch your students and think about what they were like in August and where they are now. And I think you can bask in that a little bit because they really do learn a lot throughout the course of the school year. And I think we're so frantic trying to like get to the end of the school year and through everything that we miss the magic that they really did gain a lot of skills with us. And they really are a community now making music together because every homeroom, we're making a new music community. They're their own little sub community in our classroom. So I think we set that tone and that we get to the point where we can actually have fun with them and celebrate with their little community, with their class. And I think that is pretty special and not everybody else gets that. And, every other class, the exact answer is always the same. It always has to be the same at the end of class. And for us, each class can go a different direction with things. And especially if we're improvising or adding other instruments, one class may take it this way, another, and go for the ride. I think you have to trust they have skills, you've taught them well, and have fun making music with them. Because really when it comes down to that's what it's all about. Us having fun in the humanity piece of what we do. Because so many other courses are not that. It's not the being first, it's the memorizing and do you know how to do this formula exactly this way and show your work. And for us, we can really relish in being together and making music together in community. And I think that's the thing, as stressful as it may get, like let it all go. You'll cover up your bulletin boards when you have to, like let all that go and just have fun with them. I think is the biggest thing. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I am really excited for your masterclass inside that music teacher community. Again, we will put the link for that in the show notes. If you are watching this in the future, recording will be inside the community, so you can still check it out. I say this to both BethAnn, also to you listeners. As I end every other podcast, I truly mean it, especially in May. Thank you so much for making a difference in the lives of the students that you teach.